The Kaushitki Brahman Upanishad in simple English, presented by Swayam Prakash Sharma, Part 2. Part 2 consists of Chapter 2 and discusses the following: life, life breath pran, identity with Brahm, and transmission of the tradition from father to son. The Upanishad. The sage Kaushitki used to say that the breathing or the living spirit is Brahma, and of this breathing spirit, which is Brahma, the mind is the messenger, the eye is the protector, the ear is the announcer, and speech is the householder. The person who gets to know them, he also gets to possess them. Thus, the person who knows the mind as the messenger of the breathing spirit, that is Brahma, he himself gets to possess a messenger. In the same manner, the person who knows the eye, the ear, and the speech as the protector, the announcer, and the housekeeper respectively of the breathing spirit, that is Brahma, he too gets to possess a protector, an announcer, and a housekeeper. To this breathing spirit as Brahma, the divinities of mind, eye, ear, and speech bring offerings and tribute, even though he does not ask or beg for it. He gets all these without asking for these. In the very same manner, all beings also bring offering and tribute to the same breathing spirit, even though he does not ask or beg for it. For the person who knows this, the command is never beg, never ask. This is what happens to a person who has begged through a village and got nothing from them. When he sits down and resolves that he shall not eat anything given to him by that village, then those very people who had earlier refused to give to him now come and request him to accept their offering. Charitable people, however, are always eager to give to him. Such indeed is the nature of the person who does not beg or ask, for then people are always keen to give to him. Sage Pangya used to say that the breathing spirit is Brahma. He also used to say that of this same breathing spirit, the eye is enclosed behind the speech, the ear behind the eye, the mind behind the ear, and the breathing spirit is enclosed behind the mind. To this breathing spirit as Brahma, the divinities of mind, eye, ear, and speech bring tribute and offering, though he does not ask or beg for these. For the person who knows this, the command is, you shall not beg, you shall not ask. And as in the case of the person who has begged through a village and got nothing from them, then when he sits down and resolves that he will not eat anything given to him by those villagers, then those very same villagers who had earlier refused to give to him now eagerly come to him and request him to accept their offering. Such is the nature of the person who does not beg or ask, for then people are always eager to give to him. Charitable people, however, are always ready to give to him. We now come to the way to attain the highest treasure. If a man desires to attain the highest treasure, then this is what he should do. He should perform a sacrifice at an appropriate time, and the appropriate times are either the night of a full moon, or the night of a new moon, or the bright half of the moon, and this should be under an auspicious constellation. He should choose any of these periods for the sacrifice. Having done so, he should sweep the ground and then spread grass on it, sprinkle water, build up a fire, then bending his right knee, he should offer oblations of melted butter into the fire, saying, the divinities named speech, breath, eye, ear, and the mind are all attainers of the highest treasure. May they all obtain this highest treasure for me. Hail to them all! He then inhales the smell of the fire and rubs his limbs with the ointment of melted butter. Then he should go out in silence, and declare his wish or send a messenger, he will then indeed obtain his desire. Now we come to the longing to be realized by the divine powers. If a person desires that he should become dear to any man or woman, or to any men or women, then at the periods described earlier he should perform a sacrifice in the same manner and offer oblations of melted butter, saying, I sacrifice your speech, your breath, your eye, your ear, your mind, and your wisdom. I sacrifice all these in me. Hail to you. Then he inhales the smell of the fire, rubs his limbs with the ointment of melted butter, and goes out in silence. He should try to come in contact with that person or persons, or stand and speak in the direction the wind blows, so that his words carry to the person or persons he wants to be dear to him. He then becomes dear to them, and they all think of him as dear indeed. Now we come to self-restraint, which according to Pratardan is the inner sacrifice. Pratardan used to say, as long as a man is speaking, so long he is unable to breathe, so long he does not breathe, then he is sacrificing breath in speech. And similarly, as long as a man is breathing, so long he is unable to speak, so long he does not speak, then he is sacrificing speech in breath. These two are the unending, immortal oblations that one is offering all the time, whether one is awake or asleep. Now, whatever other oblations there are, since they all consist of works, they all have an end, and they all must end. Knowing this indeed, people in ancient times did not offer the Hotra sacrifice, since it had an end. Sushk Bhringar used to say that the Ukt or the recitation is Brahma. Therefore, a person should meditate on Ukt as the rig, as the hymn of praise. To one who does this, to such a one all beings offer praise for his greatness. One should meditate on the Ukt as the Yajus, as the sacrificial formula. To such a one all beings get united for his greatness. One should meditate on the Ukt as the Psalm. To such a one all beings bow down to his greatness. One should meditate on the Ukt as beauty, as glory, as splendor, since this Ukt, this recitation is the most beautiful, the most glorious, and the most splendid among the invocations of praise. In the same manner, the person who knows this becomes the most beautiful, the most glorious, and the most splendid among all beings. So the Advaryu priest prepares this self which is related to the sacrifice and which consists of works for the sacrifice. In this sacrifice, he weaves what consists of the Yajus. The Hotra priest then, in what consists of the Yajus, weaves what consists of the rig. And finally, the Udgatra priest, in what consists of the rig, weaves what consists of the psalm. This then is the self of all. The threefold knowledge of the rig, the Yajus, and the Psalm Ved. And so whosoever knows this, he becomes the self of Indra, the lord of the gods. He becomes Brahma. Now we come to the three meditations of the all-conquering Kaushitki, who used to worship the sun. He would wear the sacred thread, the Yagopavit, fetch water, sprinkle water thrice on the water vessel, and then worship the sun in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. In the morning he would worship, saying, O sun, you are a deliverer. Deliver me from my sin. In the afternoon, when the sun was in the middle of the sky, he would worship, saying, O sun, you are the high deliverer. Deliver me highly from sin. And in the evening, when the sun was setting, he would worship, saying, You are the full deliverer. Deliver me fully from sin. Thus, by this worship, whatever sins he might have committed by day or by night, he removes all these sins fully. And so too does one who knows this and worships the sun in the same manner. He too removes whatever sin he may have committed by day or by night. He removes all these sins fully and completely. Then every month, at the time of the new moon, when it comes around on its monthly cycle, one should first worship the moon as it appears in the west, or you should throw two blades of grass towards it, saying, I consider myself to be the knower of that nicely proportioned heart of mine which rests in the moon in the sky. May I never weep for any evil or misfortune with regard to my children. His children then do not die before him. This was in respect of one to whom children are already born, not in respect of one whose children are yet to be born. He should say, increase, may vigor come to you, may milk and food collect in you with the rays that the Adityas make cheerful. Having repeatedly said these three rig verses, he says, do not increase at the expense of our vital breath, or of our offspring, or of our cattle. Instead, increase at the expense of one who hates us and whom we hate. Increase by his breath, by his offspring, and by his cattle. I then turn myself with Indra's turn. I turn myself along with the turn of the sun. He then turns himself towards the right arm. Then in the same manner, on the night of the full moon, one should worship the moon as it appears in the east, saying, you are King Som, who has 5 mouths, who is wise and the Lord of creation. The Brahman is one of your 5 mouths. With that mouth you eat the kings. With that mouth make me an eater of food. The king is another of your mouths. With that mouth you eat the people. With that mouth make me an eater of food. The hawk is another of your mouths. With that mouth you eat the birds. With that mouth make me an eater of food. Fire is another of your mouths. With that mouth you eat the worlds. Make me an eater of food with that mouth. With your 5th mouth you eat all beings. Make me an eater of food with that mouth. Do not waste away and take with you our vital breath, our offspring, and our cattle. Instead, waste away with him who hates us and whom we hate. Waste away with his vital breath, with his offspring, and with his cattle. In this way, I turn myself with the turn of the gods. I turn myself along with the turn of the sun. Having said these words, he turns himself toward the right arm. When a person is about to lie down with his wife, he should stroke her heart and say, O fair one, you who have attained immortal joy by that which is placed in your heart by Prajapati, may you never grieve about your children. Her children then do not die before her. Now, when a person has been away from his home, then on returning back, he should kiss the head of his son, saying, you are born from every limb of mine. You are born from my heart. You, my son, are myself. You are my Atma. May you live to see 100 seasons. May you live 100 years. He takes his name, saying, be a stone. Be healthy and strong. Be an axe. Be like the gold which is desired everywhere. May everyone desire to have a son like you. You, my son, are light indeed. May you live 100 years. He then takes the name of his son and embraces him, saying, just as Prajapati embraced all beings, in the same way do I embrace you, my son, saying his name. Then he says in his right ear, give him, O Maghavam, give him, O Indra, and whispers in his left ear, O Indra, give him the most excellent of everything. Do not cut off the line of our race. Never be afraid, my son. Live 100 years. I kiss your head, my son. He then kisses his son's head thrice and says, I make the lowing sound of the cow over you. And then he makes the lowing sound of the cow over the head of his son thrice. Now we come to the dying of the gods. This Brahm shines when the fire burns. Similarly, this Brahm dies when the fire does not burn. Its light then goes to the sun alone, and its vital breath to the air. This Brahm shines when the sun is seen. Similarly, it dies when the sun is not seen. Its light then goes to the moon, its vital breath to the air. This Brahm shines when the moon is seen. Similarly, it dies when the moon is not seen. Its light then goes to lightning and its vital breath to the air. This Brahm shines when lightning lights up. Similarly, it dies when lightning does not light up. Its light then goes to the regions of space and its vital breath to the air. All these divinities, though they enter the air and die there, yet they do not perish altogether, but lie latent. From this air they come out again. This was with reference to the divinities. Now, with reference to the individual beings. This Brahm shines when one speaks with speech. Similarly, it dies when one does not speak. Its light goes to the eye, its vital breath goes to the vital breath. This Brahm shines when one sees with the eye. Similarly, it dies when it does not see. Its light goes to the ear and its vital breath to the vital breath. This Brahm shines when one hears. Similarly, it dies when one does not hear. Its light goes to the mind and its vital breath goes to the vital breath. This Brahm shines when one thinks with the mind. Similarly, it dies when one does not think with the mind. Its light goes to the vital breath and its vital breath also goes to the vital breath. All these divinities, having entered into the vital breaths, though they die in the vital breath, yet they do not perish altogether, but lie latent in it. From this vital breath they come out again. For one who knows this, even if the southern mountains and the northern mountains, if both of them were to roll together to crush him, they would not be able to crush him. Such is his power. And those who hate him, and those who hate him, and those whom he hates, they all die around him. Now we come to the attainment of the highest excellence. All these divinities started quarreling among themselves in regard to their excellence, each claiming he was the most important among them. They all then went out of the body. With all of them gone from the body, it lay like a log of wood, withered and not breathing. Then speech entered into it. It just lay speaking with speech. Then eye entered into it. It still lay speaking with speech and seeing with the eye. Then the ear entered into it. It still lay speaking with speech, seeing with the eye, and hearing with the ear. Then the mind entered into it. It still lay speaking with speech, seeing with the eye, hearing with the ear, and thinking with the mind. Then the vital breath entered into it. And as soon as the vital breath entered into the body, it arose at once. All these divinities then recognized the superior excellence of the vital breath. They realized that the vital breath was the most important among them. Then all these divinities, having recognized the superiority of the vital breath, having understood that the vital breath alone is the self of intelligence, they all went out of this body together. They all, having entered into the air, which has the nature of space, went to the heavenly world. Similarly also, he who knows this, having recognized the vital breath as being the most important, having understood that the vital breath alone is the self of intelligence, he goes out of the body with all these. He enters into the air, which has the nature of space, and having entered into the air, he goes to the heavenly world. He goes to the place where these gods are. Having reached that place, he who knows this becomes immortal, just as the gods are immortal. Now we come to the ceremony where the father transfers and transmits the tradition to his son. When a person is about to depart from this world, when he is about to die, then he calls his son. He spreads fresh grass on the floor. He builds a fire and places near the fire a vessel filled with water and a jug full of rice. He wears fresh clothes and lies down. Then the son comes to the father. He approaches him from above and touches his father's organs with his own organs. Or the father may pass on the tradition to the son who sits before him. He passes on the tradition to his son, saying, "My son, I place my speech in you." The son accepts, saying, "Father, I take your speech in me." In the same manner, the father says, one by one, "My son, I place my vital breath in you. I place my eye in you. I place my ear in you. I place my tastes of food and drink in you. I place my works and actions, my deeds and my body in you. I place my pleasure and pain in you. I place my bliss, my enjoyment, and my power to procreate in you. I place my movement in you. I place my mind in you. And I place my wisdom, my thoughts, my understanding, and my desires in you." The son accepts each of these, saying, "Father, I take your vital breath in me. I take your eye, your ear, your taste in food and drink, your works and actions, your deeds, your body, your pleasure and pain, your bliss, enjoyment, and your power to procreate, your movement, your mind, and your wisdom, your thoughts, your understanding, and your desires. I take each and every one of these that you have passed on to me. I take them all in me." If, however, the father has difficulty in speaking, then he should comprehensively say to his son, "I place my vital breaths in you, my son," which the son accepts, saying, "Father, I take your vital breaths in me." Then the son turns to the right and goes out towards the east. The father calls out after him, saying, "My son, may fame, spiritual luster, and honor delight in you." Then the son looks over his left shoulder. He hides his face with his hands or covers it with the hem of his garment and says to the father, "Father, may you obtain heavenly worlds and all desires." If the father recovers and becomes well, he should live under the authority of his son or wander about as a renunciate, as a monk. If, however, he dies and departs from this world, then his son should perform all the funeral rites for him. Yes, all the funeral rites should be performed for him. This concludes part 2 of the Kaushitki Brahman Upanishad. Om Shanti 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 Om.